You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
And thanks for pressing play on this episode of Two and Out. It's Travis, Currah, and Sheldon Jones. Sheldon, you're back after a weekend of Metallica. Are you back feeling normal yet? I think today I'm just starting to feel regular.
Yeah, I've been tired, so I'm feeling a little better today. It's been quite a trip, awesome trip, very fun, but I'm old. I can't do concerts as well as I used to.
Man, yeah. So we were in the snake pit, and the snake pit is lined with steel plates, and putting in an 8-hour shift standing on steel is not good for anybody's knees and back. And I was certainly feeling it, but now I feel, 64 instead of 66. So I guess I'm doing all right.
Yeah, but that was 100% worth it, man. Like, I know you've been in the snake pit before. That was my first and probably only time, but like, to have the four guys playing 10 feet away from you, I'll never forget that. I never thought anything would ever top the Foo Fighters for my number one concert, but sorry, Dave, you've been replaced.
Yeah, the snake pit is I don't know if there is any other concert experience that can top that. So if you are a fan of Metallica, find a way, make some friends, get your way into the snake pit, because it is a bucket list experience. We are here Labor Day weekend in the CFL. It's a special weekend in the CFL. I don't know. We have a lot of American friends that watch on YouTube, listen on the pod. Like, what could we compare it to? Maybe Thanksgiving, football-wise? Homecoming, Thanksgiving, yeah, something like that. Rivalry week, whatever you got. Like, yeah.
Because three of the team's biggest rivals, they all play each other this weekend. So it's always the weekend you have circled in your calendar. And then, of course, 90% of CFL fans say, oh, the CFL doesn't start till Labor Day. Well, if the CFL season's only starting now, well, we've had a heck of a preseason this year.
Put your seatbelt on. Put it on.
Yeah. It's been ridiculous.
The Montreal Alouettes are on bye, but they're still making some news. The arbitrator has withheld the indefinite suspension of Shawn Lemon, gambling on football games, including games that he took part in. So that indefinite suspension is withheld. I know a lot of people are comparing it to the Chad Kelly situation. I understand that. Different situations. I also understand that. I do just wish that they would put a timeline on the Shawn Lemon thing. Is he gone for life? Or what's the deal there? That's kind of what I don't like the indefinite word, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I thought they went to an arbitrator to figure all this stuff out, because it's one thing for Shawn Lemon, who, let's all be frank here, he's at the end of his career. He probably had this last year, maybe one more. I don't know. Last year he was playing at pretty good levels. So, but let's say a rookie this happens to, indefinite could mean, 20 years, 30 years, 10 years, 2 months, 6 games. Like, we don't know. So just make it make sense. And again, I agree with you that there's a lot of people comparing this to Chad Kelly, and it is a different circumstance. But I think the issue that people are having, and I agree with it, is it's a different situation, but it's the same panel of judges. It's the same people handing down the judgment, and you need to make it make sense. So there's extremely harsh language when this Shawn Lemon stuff came out, and there's complete lack of any sort of strong language to this other situation that, some are saying is worse. So I think that's the reason that everyone's pissed off, and I understand it. But, unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do. We can continue to be upset about it, but, it's what's done is done, except we don't know what the penalty for gambling is. It's just an indefinite suspension. So do we have to wait 6 years until the CBA is done for them to formulate what the actual penalty is? Because if that's the case, that's pretty stupid. So, uh, yeah, that's all I got.
Well, that was a lot, and that was valuable. So thanks for bringing it to the table, man. And we stay with the Montreal Alouettes, where they're currently on an 18-1 run, which is the best 19-game stretch for any CFL team in the modern CFL. An incredible stretch. And Danny Machocha and the job that he has done is absolutely wild. So a couple receivers have been extended. Tyler Snead through 2025, and Austin Mack has signed a 4-year deal with the Alouettes. Now, deals 3-4 years are kind of rare in the CFL, but I love it. We need to keep these star players with their respective teams for longer periods of time, as it will bring fans, I think, a closer connection to their own team, getting to know that the players that are playing for their team. And just, I guess, a props to Danny Machocha. I think a lot of people were upset when Currah Jones got fired, and then Jason Moss was brought in, and then Cody Fajardo was brought in. And look at this. The stretch of football they've been playing is incredible, as they are on a Labor Day bye, winning 9 of their first 10 games. What a wild start for the Als.
Yeah, it's unheard of, and good for Danny Machocha, because I think, myself included, I think we all kind of not took for granted, but I think we all kind of made fun of his initial few years in the CFL. I know, the thing that I remember is him celebrating and then not celebrating and then celebrating and not celebrating that one game. But, it didn't work out the first time, kind of, I guess. And then he went and he did the CIS and the U Sports route, and he built up a resume of winning. He's brought it to the CFL, and like you said, a 4-year deal. That's almost unheard of now. And I know if I was a fan in Montreal, I'd feel a lot more comfortable going out and getting one of those new throwback jerseys and putting Austin Mack on there. I'm sure he has outs to see if he can make the NFL during these 4 years, but at least for the next 4 years, if he's not down playing in the NFL, he's with the Alouettes. So good news for them. Snead has been playing really good too, so another good pick, or another good signing there. It's pretty great to be an Als fan right now, I'd say.
Sad news out of, I guess, Ottawa, and some Ottawa fans will have memories of Bernie Glieberman, but former owner of the Roughriders and the Renegades and the Shreveport Pirates, has passed away at 84 years old. He actually bought the Roughriders for $1 in 1991, took all of their debt, and then split the team into a Canadian and an American half. That didn't work. They both folded. He took over the Renegades in 2005, and they folded. But you can't deny that the passion was there. And one of the most memorable, I think, sagas from the Renegades era is Mardi Gras night.
Mardi Gras night.
You can Google that, and
hey, he tried. He tried to get those fans there, and
hey, they almost sold out the upper deck for that game. They won that game, and I don't know after that. I think North Side sucks. South Side, definitely the best side in Ottawa.
I don't know. I've never been there before, but someday.
Southsiders rock, man. That's all I know. We'll talk about the fall rankings in the Scouting Bureau for the CFL, and a familiar name is leading the charge right now. That is Kurtis Rourke, the quarterback for Indiana University. Now, we'll see what happens once the draft rolls around. We'll see what his NFL prospects look like at that point. But I do think that a CFL team is going to take the chance and probably draft him no matter what. It's just a matter of how high, right? And if those NFL, prospects are working out, maybe he falls down the draft. But If we could get the brothers Rourke in the CFL, that would be incredible, man.
Yeah, and then like in 15 years, maybe we can get the Rourke cast on TSN when you go out watching the game there. No, it'd
That'd be
be awesome
sweet.
to see. It'd be awesome if we could see, real life brothers slinging out against each other. I know this year we might get to see a brother pick off another brother, maybe. But let's hope in the future we do get to see both the Rourke brothers doing well up here in the CFL, because if that's the case and Trey Ford is still starting in the league, then we could have 3 Canadian quarterbacks out of 9 teams. That'd be pretty cool.
The Rourkes, the Fords, and the Philpotts.
Philpotts, yeah.
This is pretty cool right now. Some talented guys that are making Canada proud with their football talents. Well, let's talk about Nathan Rourke. The BC Lions are 3.5-point favorites over the Ottawa REDBLACKS in Touchdown Pacific. Victoria, BC, the birthplace of Nathan Rourke. And for a third straight game, Rourke will be starting for the Lions, as Vernon Adams Jr. will dress, but he will be a backup in this one. I don't think he really struggled against Ottawa. I guess the fumbles are rough, but moving the ball a lot better last week compared to the Winnipeg game before that, of course. So he's only going to get better and better as he gets more and more reps. But the big news this week is what the BC Lions are doing or not doing with the soft, and I will emphasize soft, salary cap in the CFL, because Mathieu Betts is back with the BC Lions after being released by the Detroit Lions. And Betts doesn't have marketing money in his deal, and he doesn't have a deal past this season. He's only for the remainder of the season in BC. A big addition to the defense, as they've been struggling hard at pressuring the quarterback, which has been an Achilles heel for that team for the last few games, at least this losing skid, just unable to get to opposing quarterbacks, putting the rest of their defense in a tough position. Look, the BC Lions are able to spend what they want to spend, and they're in a home Grey Cup year, but I gotta say, they better hope they win, because if they don't, it's gonna be a lot of money spent for nothing, man.
Yeah, you say soft. It is definitely SAWFT. That is definitely true. But here's the thing. They're going to make $10 or $12 million hosting the Grey Cup. He's got a lot of money. Maybe that's just the economic impact. I don't know. But they're going to make enough money with the Grey Cup, win or lose, to cover these fines that they're going to get. They're probably going to get draft picks when they trade away Vernon Adams. So if they lose draft picks, which I think if we listen to if we read what Farhan Lalji tweeted out, he thinks that they'll probably be over the cap by about $350,000. If that's the case, it's going to be about a $600,000 fine and losing draft picks. That's definitely going to be the worst offender in this luxury tax, I guess, salary management system that we have here. But I think, we've been on record here. I think both of us have been on record saying you should spend up to that extra $99,000 every year, because there's really no penalty other than paying a little bit of a fine. But
yeah,
there's really nothing. It's there for a reason.
For dollar up to
yeah,
that.
and then it goes to $2 per dollar, and then it goes to $3 per dollar.
Hey, off the top of your head, do you know how much money the Roughriders went over the cap in 2013?
I don't, but it was under the 100,000, I believe.
$17,975, and everyone was going crazy.
Yeah, and I know one year Montreal went over by like 106,000, I think, or 103,000, something like that.
Last year, I think 3 teams actually went over. So it's not uncommon.
But nobody's ever got to the point where losing picks, and I'm pretty sure that's going to happen here. But at the same time, I think BC and Amar, they're probably in a little bit of panic mode, losing 5 games in a row, hosting the Grey Cup. And when you see these two players come available, you do what it takes. And apparently Rourke, it seemed like they had a contract in hand waiting to come back, and that's fine. But I read, and I don't know if it's confirmed, but it looked like there was other teams involved trying to get Betts, and it wasn't just the Lions. So that probably drove up the price for the rest of the season a little bit too. Uh, but hey, you got to do what you got to do, and there's a lot of people who are upset, but it's not a hard cap, so just deal with it. Like this, if the team decides they're willing to pay the penalties, it's no different than the Yankees spending as much money as they can. How often do the Yankees win the World Series? Not often anymore, right? So, uh, I hope for Amar Doman's sake this works out for them. I hope for BC Lions' sake this works out for them. But if they listen, they could miss the playoffs still. Edmonton is coming around. Uh, if they spent all this money, go over the cap by $350,000, and they don't make the playoffs, then I think some heads might roll.
Does it set a precedent? Winnipeg's hosting the Grey Cup in 2025. They already give Brady Oliveira some marketing money. They are profitable. They sell a lot of tickets in Winnipeg. Hey, maybe they're going to open up the wallets next year too.
I think it does set a precedent, and I think until they can put a cap on this marketing money, there's really no reason why they shouldn't do it. Yes, it pissed me off when I first heard about it, but at the same time, I want the league to market itself. I want the teams to spend money marketing. So I'm okay with that, but it has to be a level playing field. Like when you have Larry Thompson come in next year and he's got FU money and he wants to spend $500,000 marketing Trey Ford, that would kind of rattle me. But at the same time, he's well within his right of doing it because there's language in the CBA that says he can do it. So I think they might need to amend some stuff. There's some rule changes that might need to be looked at. There's some command center stuff that might need to be looked at. There's some salary management system that, like, I think this is going to be as crazy as the league has started off this season. I think this off season is going to be pretty crazy too, because there's going to be a lot of fallout just even from the first half. Like, who knows what's going to happen in these next 8 games?
It might take that FU money, as you say, to keep Trey Ford in Edmonton, because, hey, I don't know what's in his head, but judging by the last couple of years, I'd be like, yeah, you better pay me if you want to keep me.
Yeah, but I think the guy that was causing a lot of that stuff in his head is gone now. So I think I would hope anyway. But you know what?
Hey, if they
Trey
want to
Ford
be a
should
circus
go wherever he
and
can
change
make money.
their brand again and all this crap,
true.
and I can to play closer. Here's what I saw a theory online.
I'm here for it. Let's go.
Trey goes to Hamilton. Bo gets released. Bo signs back in Calgary.
Calgary.
Well, no, or maybe Vernon Adams
Edmonton.
Jr. gets traded to Hamilton. Bo gets released. He signs back in Calgary. Maybe Jake Mayer goes to Saskatchewan.
What do you know? No. Okay, this just turned into a nightmare.
If Rider fans end up upset about it, then I'm here for it. I think that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now, let's talk about Ottawa. Now, they're going to have some more of their depth tested because they've had some injuries to start the season in the back end of the defense, but now the receivers going through some injury problems right now. Braylon Addison had a hand injury last week against the Lions. He could hit the 6th game. We saw what happened to Jalen Acklin. He's going to be out for a significant period of time. So they brought in Maurice French, who did spend last year's training camp with Edmonton. He did turn some heads there. He did go to Ottawa, ended up getting released, but he's back on the PR in Ottawa. They've also signed Rasheed Bailey to the practice roster, longtime receiver with Winnipeg, spent the early part of the season with Toronto, and I believe was their leading receiver when he got released. So to have that caliber of receiver out there for the Red Blacks is good, to add him to their fold. Maybe this means even more targets for Justin Hardy and even more targets for Dominic Rhymes. I don't think we've seen the explosion from Dominic Rhymes yet. We know what he's capable of. We saw what he did in BC over the last couple of years. Maybe this does get him going in Ottawa. And Justin Hardy quietly keeps getting yards, keeps getting catches, and I feel like nobody's really talking about him. So if he continues to stay steady, he might have even more opportunity in that Ottawa offense. Well, now also middle linebacker Jovan Santos Knox is injured and may be missing some time for the Red Blacks. So it's that time of the year, the injuries start piling up and your depth starts getting tested. Now we're going to find out what that roster is really made of. And obviously a tough test. Traveling, well, this is probably the furthest flight you can make. I know Montreal to Vancouver, but now they're going all the way to the island. They're going to Victoria. It was good. It was big for Ottawa to get that win at home against the Lions. This seems like it might be a tough test for the Red Blacks.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think a lot of us have been counting the Red Blacks out a lot this season, and they've pretty much showed us that we are incorrect. So the way that they're playing, I know the injuries are mounting up like you're saying, but it just seems that there's something is pushing the Red Blacks to perform better. I don't know if it's the same kind of mentality that Montreal had last year where everyone was doubting them, and so they kind of just, Cody with the F you just watch. Maybe that's the kind of thing that's happening in Ottawa here, but it is a tough task. It is a lot of travel, but I think that's going to be a great game, because especially if Nathan Rourke can improve a little bit, get better, or get back to where he was last season, and then we could have a shootout, because yes, Mathieu Betts is back, but that's just one piece, and BC Lions defense has been giving a lot of passing yards too. So unless Betts is in the backfield causing problems every single play, they're still going to have time and opportunities for Dominique Rhymes and Justin Hardy to get open.
And here's the thing with the BC Lions, they're 3-1 at home. And I know this one's in Victoria, so it's different than playing at BC Place. And they've got, 7 games left on the season. 5 of them are at home. So that's a pretty good back, third of the season for the BC Lions, having those home games stacking up here. Ottawa still undefeated at home, 500 on the road. All right. Going to Regina. The Riders are 2.5-point favorites over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, where the over-under is at 47.5. It is a sold-out Mosaic Stadium. We know that there's a few thousand Winnipeg fans that make the trek and make some noise and shout out their stupid blue during the national anthem, but
disrespectful blue, not just stupid. It's disrespectful.
Welcome to Saskatchewan, to those Bomber fans, and it's always a fun time at those games. And this one is a battle for first place in the West. Well, combined with the Banjo Bowl, I guess. But if the Riders win this, they win the season series with Winnipeg. So this is a massive game for the Roughriders. And both teams are actually coming off games where their quarterback struggled. Trevor Harris struggled against the Argos. Zach didn't have the best game against the Ticats, but as Zach does, his best drive comes at the end of the game and ends up winning the game for them.
Yeah.
3 interceptions, 177 yards, and a touchdown, and Hamilton could not take advantage of that. I don't know. Is it? I think a lot of times these teams play, it's not 49-45, it's 17-13, and
yeah,
if you turn the ball over outside of what West Final I'm talking about, you have to protect the ball. And if the quarterbacks are going to be turning over, I guess unless they're both doing it, they can't afford the turnovers that they were doing last week, either team.
Mm-hmm. It's been very interesting, other than that one game, I think, where Brett Lowther won it with a walk-off field goal where it was like 33-31 or something like that. There hasn't been a game between the Bombers and the Riders since like Taylor Field, original Mosaic Stadium, that has been like an offensive, game. They've always been defensive, like playoff like games, and there's a place for that. But I miss the shoot 'em up, you know what? I want a 56-0 Labor Day again. Like, come on. Is it too much to ask?
Yeah,
like, is it too much to ask?
I was going to say, there have been offensive games, but they're blowouts. And sometimes Sask blows out Winnipeg on Labor Day, and then it's the opposite.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's how it works. But I think these teams still match up really well against each other, and there's some storylines from the first game. You have the Big Hill might be back for this game, and you have what happened at the end of the last game. So if Big Hill is back, is that gonna be some motivation for some of the O linemen or running backs to kind of give him a shot? Winnipeg they can't lose this game if they want to have the season series. The tie in Ottawa for the Riders actually kind of is a benefit to them right now, because that extra point kind of over top of the other teams here. So if the Riders can win, they have the tiebreaker. It's basically like 3 points because they have that extra tiebreaker with it, right? So it's going to be a good game, but I expect a low score, like the over under 47.5. That's a low over under. And that's for a reason, just because these games typically are so close.
And I guess that being said, the Riders beat the Bombers 32-30 in overtime last year on Labor Day, and then the Bombers crushed the Riders 51-6 at the Banjo Bowl, something like that.
I was there.
And then in 2022, the Bombers beat the Riders Labor Day 20-18, and then crushed the Riders at the Banjo Bowl 54-20. So 105 points for the Bombers in the past 2 Labor Day or Banjo Bowls, wild that they've been doing. But really, and I don't even know if stats really matter when it comes to Labor Day. It's like where it all resets, just like the playoffs, right? Where there have been times when the Riders are 1-7 going into Labor Day, and the Bombers are the opposite, and the Riders win. And the same goes in Hamilton. It's just stuff that can't be explained. I think these players sort of get these speeches when they arrive to training camp that, hey, be in shape for Labor Day, be ready to play on Labor Day, and there we go. Would this be Trevor Harris's first start for the Riders in a Labor Day game?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he started last year. I can't remember for sure, but I believe he
got
was
hurt in the
out.
summer. He broke his leg, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think the other thing about this, and it may be superficial, but you get to put on a different jersey if you're the Riders. You get to put on that retro jersey. I think, and I don't know if I know if I was a player and when you put on the Obsidian jersey, you put on this other jersey. I think it might motivate you a little differently. You look different, you look cooler. I don't know, but at the same time, they're gonna have in memoriam or whatever for Ken Miller here. So I hope the Riders show up a little bit better for Ken than they did for George. That's all I'm gonna say, because that game that we remember George Reed, they crapped the bed.
Yeah, like they were embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
Well, they
and
were
I know
embarrassing after Labor Day the last
yeah.
2 years, but
Yeah. Well, and I know there's only like really Jeremy and O'Day left on the team who would have any sort of recollection of actually, being around Ken Miller, I would assume. But I think he's been up to visit, so maybe there are some other players. And I know, actually, I heard on the Piffles podcast this week that apparently when Corey Mace got the job, one of the first people he called was Ken Miller to ask what it was like to coach in Saskatchewan. So, like I said, I just hope they show up for him. And if you can't be motivated for Labor Day, if you can't be motivated playing against the Bombers, if you can't be motivated to win the season series at Labor Day, like I don't remember that ever happening before in my recollection. So there's a lot of motivating factors. And let's just put it this way: if you're not motivated to really win after going 1-4-1 in the last 5 games, we got problems.
And the Bombers coming into this one winning 3 in a row, including a shutout of the BC Lions with, at that time, the favorite for MOP. At this point, who is the favorite for MOP in the CFL? This is completely a wide open race. And if you look at the standings, I think this is the first time, I think it's 1981, where the top 3 teams in the East have better records than every team in the West. This season has just been completely bonkers. For a lineup note for the Bombers, it does look like Stanley Bryant could play, which is, I guess, good to see. Maybe whatever was happening last week just ended up being a dehydration, heat exhaustion kind of thing. But man, it was scary to see the big man, stumbling and getting the fluids in him and cooling him down kind of thing. But he could be out there for the Bombers, which is big. They started having, some O-line issues against Hamilton in that one, because they had another, Gabe Wallace ended up getting hurt in that one as well. So their depth guys getting hurt, and it does look like it's going to be hot. Like I can't believe that it's been so long. I can't remember the last bad weather Labor Day. It's always seems to be nice, and it's just one of those weekends, the last long weekend of summer, and we always seem to be blessed with good weather at Mosaic Stadium. And yeah, I still call it Labor Day. So
it's a Labor Day classic. Get over it.
I understand. It comes up every year.
I understand it's not on the day, but it's still the Labor Day classic. It's the weekend. Get over it. But one thing about the weather this morning, I saw my breath.
Oh yeah.
So, and I saw that there's places in BC and places in Montana actually that got snow yesterday. So, but the weather does look like it's going to be good. I just hope it's not 35 and sunny, because Wayne's World, it will not be fun with no shade and wasps everywhere. Ooh. Give me a nice little bit of a breeze to keep those losers away. No, not the Bomber fans, the Wasps.
The Regina Wasps are next level, and I know it sounds silly. I'm not exaggerating.
No, like they are.
When I pull into Regina, I always go to gas up, and they're always on the vehicle getting the dead bugs like that. I remember one time I stopped at the Riders store. I think it was a Labor Day. We come back to the car. It's swarmed in wasps. It's crazy. Like I don't know how you go outside.
Imagine changing garbages at work. Ooh. It is not fun. Especially when you're petrified of wasps like I am.
So, I've only been stung by a wasp once. You?
I've been stung like When I was like 4 or 5, I got stung by a swarm all at
Ooh.
once. It was not cool. So that's why I'm afraid. But it's been a while since I've been stung, but that's just because I've learned to kind of man up and, show them I'm not scared anymore, and then they'll leave you alone. But inside, my heart is pounding, and I just need to get the hell out of there.
You remember the Pokemon Go craze? That's when I got stung, and I quit that game right there. Screw this.
Yeah, that was it. Man, Pokemon Go was the best. I know of lots of people who still play.
Really, eh? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll have to pick it up again. But yeah, walking around.
Let's go walking. Yeah, let's go walk around on Sunday, Pokemon Go, and on the way to the game.
Labor Day, the actual day. You know what? When I ask you what you're doing for Thanksgiving, I don't ask you what you're doing on actual Thanksgiving Monday. I mean the whole week.
Exactly.
So let's.
And if there was a game on December 24th, would it be the Christmas? Shut up. Shut up. Stamps, whatever, 75 numbers on Twitter. I've had enough of you, okay? I've had enough of you.
Oh, I love the trolls that come out for Sheldon. And I just turn my phone off and walk away, but you can't. I love it. Hamilton Tiger Cats home to the Toronto Argonauts. The over-under is at 52.5, and the Argos are listed as 4.5-point favorites in this one. I do want to just bring up this. This is so cool. Two big Argo fans, members of the CFL family, Connor and Dallas, are going to be walking 65 kilometers over Labor Day weekend. So, man, when are they starting this walk?
I think they broke it down to Friday and Saturday now, I think.
Okay. They're going to walk from BMO Field to Mississauga on Friday, Oakville to Burlington, and then the Oakville or Burlington on Saturday, and then the rest of the way on Sunday. Wow. And then, they'll take a break in the Hammer and then get ready for the Monday game at Tim Hortons Field. And they're raising money for CFL Fans Fight Cancer. This thing is all grassroots, raising money. We know that Chris ended up doing the Guinness World Record, raising money for CFL Fans Fight Cancer, visiting the CFL stadiums. But that record's already been broken by 24 hours. There's a lot of great fans in this league, and the amount of money that has been raised so far this season. Last year was over 40 grand in Hamilton. This year in BC, it just looks like it's going to be even better. So thumbs up to Connor and Dallas for walking that 65K Labor Day weekend, man.
Mm-hmm. Dallas, he's definitely a Rider fan before an Argo fan, but though I've never met Connor before, but I've met Dallas, and he's great. He was repping our shirt when he was actually making the announcement on Twitter.
Nice.
So we appreciate you for that, Dallas. And yeah, like I think they're already over 30 grand, right, for CFL Fans Fight Cancer. So they're definitely getting to that 40 grand goal. They're going to get 50. They may get 60. Like it's going to be unreal, because this is all money that's been raised before the event, where usually the event pulls in another, 10, 15, 20 grand. So we're really excited for this. And, I know I certainly couldn't walk 65K even over 3 days. So props to you guys. And it's amazing.
This is another one of those moments where, even if the Ticats suck and the Ticats are struggling, that Tim Hortons Field, it's full on Labor Day, and they want to beat the Toronto Argonauts. However, the Argos have been having a lot of success with the Ticats lately. And could the Chris Jones effect continue to improve, hey, they forced those turnovers against Winnipeg. They didn't get the win, but they're going to need to do that again if they're going to want a Labor Day win against the Double Blue.
Yeah, I think the fans are certainly going to be trying to rattle Chad Kelly. I think he had it pretty easy starting his first game back at home. I don't think he's going to be well received in any of the other stadiums going forward. So if they can rattle him, we've seen what happened. Look at what happened in the Eastern Final last year. But Chris Jones, his defense is definitely different than what the teams who have played Hamilton previous to him were facing. So maybe that's just a little bit more extra tape and study that they have to do. They have to go back into the past and find some other Chris Jones games. But like you said, it's when this game comes, when this time of year comes, all bets are off, and the weak team can beat the big team. So hopefully, Hamilton fans have been starving for a win for a while. And they need some wins, so hopefully for them they can pull out a big win here. But I just want to see a good game. I want to we've seen lots of good games this year. We need this Labor Day weekend is going to be full of them, hopefully. But it'll be very interesting to see how that defense matches up against Toronto's offense, and if Kelly can improve, because he didn't play great. The Riders gave him a lot of opportunities. The Riders, through those interceptions, they got stopped on the goal line 3 times. That's unheard of. So Toronto's offense definitely needs to step it up here against Hamilton.
Now, the Argos have won 2 consecutive Labor Days at Tim Hortons Field, so the Ticats are going to want to change that trend. If they do lose handily, it's not going to be a happy back half of the season in Hamilton. It already isn't trending that direction anyway. But I think about the last couple games, and Toronto they're quite complete. They play complementary football. The special teams helps the offense. The offense takes advantage of a defense forcing turnovers. Hamilton hasn't been able to do that at all. And their special teams over the past couple games, Bird makes his CFL debut. He fumbles. It turns into a touchdown. Moxie fumbles the previous game. He fumbles. You can't do that. You can't turn it over on special teams when it's supposed to be your ball. I know that is the most obvious statement known to man, and I know Smoke Harris, he wasn't Javon Leake, he wasn't Devontae Dedman or Mario Alford or James Letcher or all these guys, but he wasn't turning the ball over, and he did make some plays. So missing him on special teams has been pretty rough for the Ticats. If they want to win Labor Day, don't put the ball on the ground on special teams. And Milanovic, when he got interviewed last game, you could tell, the steam is coming out of the ears. It doesn't matter how hot he is. He's hotter inside. Whoo! So Bo gets to play Labor Day against the Argos. He's familiar with the Labor Day atmosphere. Let's see if they can put it together. I don't know if they can do it.
Imagine being Bo Levi. I would have loved to be there when, Milanovic had to go back to him and be like, "You're back to our number 1 guy." And I would have been like, "Oh, really? Well then." Because what a yo-yo year for Bo. I feel bad for him. But, here's his chance, because Powell's on the 6th game. You don't know if he'll actually be out the full 6 games or not, but here's his chance to prove to Scott that he made a mistake earlier in the season. I know there was a lot of us who could see the offensive points that were being put up. I know Bo throws a good amount of turnovers or a good amount of interceptions. I get that. So did Ron Lancaster. So I think, the offense wasn't really the issue there, but that Scott Milanovich made his choice, and now he has to go crawling back to that other guy. So let's see what happens here. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for the game as well. I want to see if James Butler can get back onto the roster, and who knows what they're doing with that one. But Bell, he keeps scoring touchdowns for the Ticats, but complimentary football, that has to happen in Hamilton, and it hasn't happened up until this point of the season. I actually see that this last game of Labor Day weekend could have some points just because the defense have been giving up yards left and right. The Elks are giving up almost 400 yards a game, 392 yards a game, and the Stamps are giving up 362.2 yards a game. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see Trey Ford. He's limited in practice. He's doing more than he has over the past couple of weeks, but it does appear it's going to be McLeod Bethel-Thompson for the Edmonton Elks as they visit the Calgary Stampeders. The Stamps are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under at 51.5 here. The big thing here is just the way the Stamps have played at home, and I know they had a loss their last time out at home to the Ottawa REDBLACKS. Jeremiah Masoli got the start there, winning 31-29, but the Stamps have looked good at home. They are 4-6, and they're still in the hunt for a playoff spot. This is big for Edmonton, but coming off the bye, the Stampeders it does feel like a tough task for the Elks going to Calgary to McMahon.
It does. I know that the I can't remember exactly what it is, but the Calgary's record off the bye, like with Dave Dickinson there, is like unreal, like 15-1 or something like that. So I know the Stamps have that working for them, but I just don't know if this is the same Stamps team. Like, they've been so Jekyll and Hyde on the road and at home, and then we saw that they were able to be defeated at home last week. But I think this is going to come down to what McLeod Bethel-Thompson are we going to get? Are we going to get the one at the beginning of the year who wasn't as great, or are we going to get the one who came in relief of Trey Ford once he got his opportunity and then was able to throw the ball? Like, let's look at last week. Are we going to get the first half McLeod Bethel-Thompson, or are we going to get the second half McLeod Bethel-Thompson? Because those were two different quarterbacks. And when you're playing Calgary at home, you need to play pretty much mistake-free, because Calgary will make you pay for the turnovers. That's another team where they get to wear a special set of jerseys for this game. They get to wear their black jerseys. That pumps them up. That pumps the crowd up. So, yeah, this could be that barn burner, that 40-41, 42 game here, hopefully, because when I'm sitting at home on Monday afternoon, there's nothing more than I want to be entertained by some football.
I'm going through just the last few Labor Days in Calgary. Edmonton did win in 2021, but I'm looking at their last win before that, and
You're going back.
I'm back at 2012. Nope. 2011. Yes. So 2011, Edmonton crushed the Stampeders, or Calgary crushed Edmonton 35-7 on Labor Day. So they've won 2 since then, since 2011. So like you said, when Calgary comes out in those black jerseys, there are times when I've visited that stadium as an opposing fan wearing green, and when the Stamps come out wearing black, it's, oh, great. We're done. And
yep.
and there is something about the psyche. We said it in Saskatchewan when they come out wearing the retros. It certainly inspires them, and it certainly does that for Calgary as well. I encourage you to read the piece on CFL.ca, Jake Mayer, in his own words, what it means to be a Calgary Stampeder, what it means on Labor Day, and it's a pretty darn good read here. So, I mean, there could be some points scored in this game. We've seen bad Jake this year. We've seen good Jake, and most of the good Jake does happen at McMahon Stadium. They've welcomed Dedrick Mills back to the team. He is on the PR, though. We'll see how long that sticks around. And I thought they made a good signing in Chandler Worthy, who had a resurgence in his career with the Montreal Alouettes. He got hurt. James Letcher Jr. comes in, and they go, well, we're going to stick with Letcher.
Yeah.
It's not saying that Worthy was bad, just Letcher was Letcher, and that's what happened. So I think Worthy will actually be a pretty good addition to the Stampeders roster, and their kick returns there. Mm-hmm. And then Edmonton, their offense has changed. Even when McLeod came in for Trey, I know Javon Leake's hurt, but last week they had success running the ball in the first half. It's just all about those adjustments that the Alouettes made. Even Kevin Brown was eating up chunks of yards. He wasn't doing that earlier in the season. Justin Rankin has been getting those yards as well. And then we got to mention Tevin Jones. Like, he gets out of the roster in Edmonton, and he might be one of the hottest receivers in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's definitely playing above his what everyone thought he was once the Riders decided to move on from him. It's been really good to see, because I really liked him when he was in with the Riders. He's just another one of those tall, lanky receivers that, can just get his arms up there and come down with those 50-50 balls.
In his last 4 games, 15 catches on 17 targets, 341 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So that's a pretty good 4-game sample size for Tevin Jones. He has become somebody that defenses need to look out for. And with Gittins and Lewis there...
as you say, once you key on one of them, you got 2 other ones that are going to be getting one-on-one coverage, and then both those other guys are able to make plays when they have only one guy on them.
Yeah, so the bottom line is Calgary needs to pressure McLeod, and they do have the ability to do that. They've got linebackers, they've got talent, and I feel like Calgary, they can be sort of, I don't know, streaky, but once they get momentum, it's tough to stop them. And I find that for their defense, like once Judge and Awe get going, well, look out. And hey, I know what's his name, Darren, on our Facebook page craps on me for not giving Calgary enough love, but if they win here, they're 5-6, and Edmonton falls to 3-9, and I think it's all but done for the Elks. And they're in trouble again. And I don't know what this means following this season for that team. So this Labor Day series between the Alberta teams is really a big one, and it's too bad that Trey's not healthy. I just wish that we got that. And I remember last year, the plays, and I know Calgary won, but the plays that Trey made on Labor Day, those were so special, and watching it live in person. So maybe he's good for the rematch, and that would give another wrinkle to Calgary's defense. But either way, McMahon Stadium on Monday, Labor Day. Oh, those tailgates too. Shout out to Calgary. Shout out to Austin on our YouTube channel. He gave me the Spudinator report at McMahon Stadium. It's still a thing. He says it's probably close to 2 pounds, like this potato. And then you get every topping on it.
I need to get one of those.
It's worth it. I agree.
Also, did you hear what Calgary was doing this week?
What are they doing? Tell me.
Oh, they went bowling. Craig, that's the Craig Dickinson effect right there. They went bowling for some team building.
We need team records after a bowling outing. Did they go 5-pin or 10-pin?
That I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to ask Craig. But I popped when I was watching a Dave Dickinson thing, and he said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go bowling." I just popped like, whew.
No,
Hey,
I'll be honest.
at least it's not when they're out of the playoffs and it's the last game of the
true.
season and
That's true.
they lost the last 10 games. But
Now, I didn't do my fantasy lineup yet. There's no games until Saturday. Did you do yours?
I did. I'm not saying it's going to stay the same, but I did do mine.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so this is basically so I can enjoy myself at the Rider game. Either I'm going to get lots of points from my quarterback, Zach Collaros, or I'm going to be having fun. So I took Zach just because I have a really bad feeling. But so Zach's my quarterback. Running backs, I have Kadeem Carey and I have Rock Armstead. Receivers, I have Eugene Lewis and Jake Hardy. My flex is Ontario Wilson. And my defense is actually the Ottawa REDBLACKS, but I might change that one. I still have $4,000 to play with.
Justin Hardy or Jake Hardy?
Oh yeah, sorry, Justin Hardy.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay.
I always screw those two up.
Okay.
Which, if you're looking at a picture of them, you wouldn't be able to. But
one has a lot of yards and one doesn't. All the respect in the world to Jake Hardy. Well, for Pick'em this week, I'm going Lions, Riders, Argos, Stamps. Sheldon, where are you going?
Well, so you got all the home teams. No, except for Hamilton.
Yeah.
Right now, I have a road sweep, but I don't know if I'm sticking that. But that's what I have in my pick'em right now.
Okay.
So that means I would have Ottawa, Winnipeg, Toronto, and Edmonton.
Wow. All right. Yeah. I believe in Labor Day magic for 2 out of the 3 home teams. Sorry, Hamilton. I like how I apologize and then I laugh.
Sorry, not sorry.
I still think about the Grey Cup in Hamilton last year, the Electric Diner. I went there on the Friday. I had probably 2.5 pots of coffee, and it carried me through the rest of the week. Like, the people I was with are like, dude, stop. I had like 11 cups.
Sometimes you gotta.
Sometimes, yeah. And I asked them, I'm like, what's this coffee? Like, I need this in my. I don't know what they put in it. Something in that Hamilton water. So props to the Electric Diner in the Hamilton.
As long as you're close to a reliable toilet, you can certainly drink 11 cups of coffee in one sitting. Yeah. That's all you need to. That's all you need to have set up after that.
My early day process at the Grey Cup's way different at 35 than 25. I will say that.
35 to be young again.
I'm going to Pink on Saturday and then trying to make it to Regina for the Labor Day game. I know you do or do not. Yoda,
yeah, there's no try.
All right.
You'll sleep when you're dead.
Well, hopefully they don't happen at the same time, man. I've gotten some comments. Some people are fans of the Jerry Springer line, so I will keep that up. You can rate, review, and subscribe to 2 and Out on your favorite podcatcher. Like, comment on YouTube. Check us out on Patreon. Check out the merch store, 2andout.ca. And don't forget, for Labor Day, take care of yourself and each other. Be safe. We will talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.